Oh boy.
Look at that. Somebody really likes me. I'm not going to drop that thing, but we're going to open it because it is Tech Talk Taco Tuesday.
Boy.
I'll do this the right way. Live from Pahrump, Nevada, in the dirt bike test, well-lit, palatial, what is this, conference table?
Must be a conference table.
It's a conference table? Yep. This is Tech Talk Taco Tuesday. We are here to answer your motorcycle and motorcycle product-related questions live on the air while we have tacos and sometimes a little bit of tequila.
Slight bit.
Yeah, we're not gonna have a lot with this stuff. This stuff is pricey, John. I'm gonna tell you.
This comes in a fantastic bottle.
This is a Clase Azul. It is definitely one of my favorites. That's probably why I get it as a gift every once in a while. And
I remember last time anyone gave me tequila for a gift, but
yeah, well, you got to have the certain kind of friends, I guess. But there's another thing about this as well that I'm gonna demonstrate when I get this opened here. Everybody's waiting to have their motorcycle.
Certainly better at riding motorcycles than opening tequila.
Oh, watch this here. Watch this. This is a here we go. See if this works. You hear that?
I heard it.
Yeah, it's a bell. Okay, so I'm gonna let you do the honors. Wow, that's a big lip too.
Wow, that was impressive.
Okay, I'll have just a little bit. I'm putting my headphones on. We're gonna get started here.
Wow, that's a good one.
Yeah. Okay.
Is that a little bit enough?
That's a lot.
Hey, look.
That's okay. I'll have that.
It's a large bottle, so.
I know. Well, you're a big guy too. So tonight I'm sitting here with Big John Perkins, who is a dirt bike test rider, and he's making some big pours. I'm taking that away from you.
Yeah, maybe I'll take that way. Perfect.
Okay, got it. So Big John's one of our test riders. I've been wanting him to come in. He was actually going to sit in on the first show. He didn't know that. He was on his way home from work.
Yeah.
And so we've been trying to get him in here, but he does work a lot. But today I promised him rain. I delivered.
We did get rain.
And we did about 70, 80 miles of trail riding today.
That's it. Huh?
Yeah. Good trail riding. Tested, I don't know what we were testing. It's secret. So, but we were riding a KTM 350 and a KTM 500, and it's amazing the weight difference.
Oh boy. Same fuel tank, same amount of fuel, mass amount of difference in weight.
Yeah. So it was pretty good. It was good to do that. We were actually, the 500 had some nitro mousses, some soft mousses in it. We were trying to put time in those, and I'm messing around a little bit with some stuff in the 350, trying to get happier with the suspension, just like always, tinkering and stuff like that. And it was my old 350, not my new one. I have the 2019 still in the motorhome. I got to unload that thing and start tuning on that sucker a little bit more. But anyways, welcome everybody. Thanks for joining in. Let's see, Underground Bunker. Is that what we're calling it now?
I like it.
Yep. I learned a few things from, Art Bell out here. So anyways, cheers.
Yes, sir.
Have a sip of this stuff. It's good. I see my wife is watching.
That's impressive.
I made some improvements per her requests in our studio. That's why it looks like there's a wire coming out of my head. So I got a few questions that people posted up on last week's video comments on YouTube. So the way that this works is we do this live on Facebook. We know that everybody can't enjoy us here, live. So you can always find this on Facebook, or you can find it on Facebook. It stays up there. We post it up on YouTube on Dirt Bike Test, and you can always go in and throw some comments in there. We got to share this thing. We want it to grow. We have some sponsors that help us out, help us get going here. Producer Gabe's going to run the reel, and that's a picture of. Is that a picture of me?
Yeah,
that's a picture of me. Yeah, that's not a sponsor. Actually, I am kind of a sponsor because I think I'm floating this thing on my own. Achirby's. Yeah, Achirby's, the maker of the lots and lots of plastic. They've actually, Franco Achirby's saved me from a life of slavery in Zurich, Mauritania. It's a long story, but I'm probably still paying off that debt. Yet, we're testing their air pressure seat, their X-Air seat. Did you get to ride with that or not?
I did not.
Not ride with that.
We did, however, get to use 2 motorcycles with very large tanks from them this morning. So.
Correct. Yep. And I've always liked their tanks, especially when you're talking about the big tanks. You know, not the other ones. There's a lot of different companies. IMS makes tanks. Acerbis makes tanks, but Acerbis makes a lot of plastic. The skid plate that was on my bike was Acerbis. Mm-hmm. The chain guide that was on my bike was actually Acerbis.
Also tested that.
Yeah, I tested. You tested that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, good stuff. So, also chain guides, TM Designworks, and we've got something over there in this bag that I'm going to talk about a little bit later. This is a TM Designworks chain guide that we put it to the test, and I'll tell some stories about that, and they're really good chain guides as well. So, they're helping us out. And next, Gabe, yeah, working on it. He's working on it. It's good. Okay, I'm gonna do the first question here. So let's see. Bob asks, it's probably too long, and this is the wrong place to do this, but I don't do Facebook or Twitter. Sounds like Bob. Hey, Bob's sitting right over there. Are you the one that did this? I don't know where I get these. They just come in. Okay, so anyways. Read with great interest your review of the Honda Sierra 450L. All the reviews I've read, save one, have compared this bike to other 450, 500 bikes. In that company, it does seem like a odd duck. I've actually been thinking it as an alternative to the KTM 690 701. Something that can get you there reasonably well, regardless of distance, and still do a good job once you arrive. Somewhere, somebody said it has to have the potential to be Honda Africa twin single. No, wait, Honda Africa single. I can't even read right now. The tequila hit me. Wow. I like that idea. It seems to me, let's see. It seems to me you almost got there in the article, but not quite. I've adventurized my 15 Beta 500 RS, but it is way too loud to be seen in public, vibrates like most dirt bikes, and beats you to death on the road. Great once you arrive, though. It appears Honda may have solved these issues for me. I'd really appreciate your thoughts and perspective. Well, you got my thoughts and perspective in the test, okay? So I just want to put that out there. I'm not going to give you a special, hey, guess what? Guess what I really think? Here's what I really think. But you kind of threw it in this mix. When you start throwing 690, 701 into the mix, I know where you're coming from. You're doing a lot more street mileage, a lot more. You're expecting to ride your bike to the events and put some time on it. And the problem is when you get there on a 690 or 701, you're still on an adventure bike.
It's just not a big enough difference down off of the 1,000cc range to be, a massive comparison between a 450 and a 700.
The 701 and the 690 belong in adventure bike world. The 450 is a 450. It's a derived off of a dirt bike. I'll tell you the one good thing about it that you did pick up on is the lack of vibration, and the Honda does not vibrate. It's funny. I was riding the KTM 350 today, and it's a 16, and all I noticed was how much it was vibrating because I've been riding the Honda a lot, the X mostly, which doesn't vibrate either. So that's kind of a good thing. But you know what you might want to keep an eye out on? They haven't announced this yet. And I'm not breaking any news here because I'm pretty sure you're going to see it. Maybe this year, I think. Honda will do a rally version of that Sierra 450L. Just like they do with the 250L rally, they will, I'm sure, somehow code it up and make it look like the rally bike. I mean, they have to. They spend so much money racing in the rallies, they want to get some marketing potential. That would probably be your bike because then you get a little bit of wind protection.
It's the wind protection is such a big deal when you're riding a 450 because even the new 450X, with the plastic covers they put on the motor, it's significantly quieter than even the KTM 500s. And they really don't vibe that much, but the wind will just kill you at 70 miles an hour.
Yeah, it's
fatiguing.
Not, yeah, exactly. And so that might be a good thing. But the funny thing is then when you get there, then you're riding this thing that has a lot of extra plastic on it, and then you're kind of, so it's always a give or a take. So that's what I really think. if you're going to do more street commuting, I would definitely get something with a fairing, and I guarantee you there's companies that are going to be making those rally kind of kits for them. I know Moto Minded is a company I've done stuff with. They make really cool lights and mounts for lights, little trinkets. But they're
very lightweight stuff too.
Yeah, they could make you a they might have a rally kit for that would integrate with like the IMS gas tank. And I haven't seen anybody do the huge gas tank yet, but I'm sure that's coming. So. One other question from Bob. I'm also curious to know if you have any updates on the Trail Tech Voyager Pro since your original article. Reach over and grab that thing.
Look at that.
Yeah, actually, I probably should do some updates on it. So that one, now they have the billet case, which this is enclosed in, and I've actually attached my antenna and my buddy tracking antenna to it. And like I said, one of the best things, it's on a RAM mount. It's one of the things they sell, which makes it super modular. All I do is plug a power cord in on most bikes. If I want to add, if I have the spark plug sensor on there, I can plug that in, the temperature, whatever. That works really good. So it's well over $900. I think especially when you get all the parts and stuff on it. And you're right up there in the same, high-end stuff as the Garmin Montanas and some of the other ones. And the one thing that this thing has is that buddy tracking. But then again, all of your buddies need to have it too to make that functional. And it's when you start riding with other guys that have it and you don't have to stop at turns because you can see that they're coming, on your screen, and the way that it links unit to unit to unit. It's they call it a daisy chaining or something like that. So you can actually stretch a long distance as long as you're connected to one of the other units. It'll tell you where everybody else is at. So,
so is it just the new model that has the buddy tracker?
Correct. It's the Voyager Pro. Yeah,
okay.
That has it. Like today, we had a Voyager, a standard Voyager on the bike, and which I use just to kind of watch some stuff. I'm always paying attention, like what RPM I'm riding at, and things like that. So, and then he also says, well, right, good screen right there. Gabe, pause that sucker. He says, great to see Kate's on board. I've been carrying her bars for years, and I never leave without several. I just pull one out of my pocket. And if you want a promo code for a Kate's bar, these are the best trail bars known to man.
Hands
okay. What do we eat for lunch today?
We had a Kate's bar.
Yeah, we had 3.
Oh,
one and a half each.
I'm a bigger guy, so it's.
So you had not enough. I think that's why we came back. That's why we're here on time, because you got tired, hungry.
Actually, believe it or not, they're terribly dense, so they work out great.
Yeah, no, it's good. That's all I ate until I had my tacos a minute ago. That was all I ate. And tacos brought to you by Ramiro's. Sorry, we're not at Ramiro's anymore. We'll get back there when the internets work better. This is a little more quaint, a little quieter. Little less smoke. Yeah.
A lot less smoke.
A lot less smoke, yeah, But the tequila's just as good.
Definitely.
Yeah. Cheers. Yeah. So, Bob, thanks for the questions. Hopefully I answered your things. Since you're not on Facebook or Twitter, you'll see this on YouTube's tomorrow. Or actually tonight, because I'm going to teach Gabe how to get this thing up live and quick, like he's supposed to. Like I'm supposed to. Man. Yeah. Okay. I know. I had one other thing. We got a really interesting email from somebody. John, I'm going to have you read this. I should have had you read it while I was taking my sip of tequila. Just the top part. It's from Robin Bofill.
Jimmy, I don't speak that.
You don't speak that language?
No, sir.
That's the way it came.
That's all I got for you, though.
Go ahead. Give your
post
best.
Instagram. That's a good one.
Yeah. It says bonjour.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's bonjour.
Oh, okay. So you already know more than me.
Motocross.
Yeah, the
good
word,
one.
Yeah. Trophy Mediterranean.
Yeah, he's asking how to get a trophy in the Mediterranean.
No, I actually translated. I'll tell you what he's saying.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah. He says, hello, I'm a motocross league driver, and I participate in the Mediterranean Trophy Challenge. I take seriously my sport, and just the beginning, the competition with already average results. See good. This is almost like Jinglish. And given your activity, I identified several areas where we could collaborate would allow the development of your business. We have a large audience, rather diversified, and this can be beneficial to your business to expand your customer base. And I'm thinking, I was reading it in French this morning, which I don't read.
No, of course.
And I could tell exactly what he was getting at.
Well, I figure you translated this with your mind. Correctly.
Yeah, convinced that real opportunities can develop turnover of your business. I don't want to turn over my business. Actually, I do want to turn it over. I would be delighted to team up with you. I propose, as highlighted your brand, Instagram post. Advertise on my outfit, my bike, and my truck. Example of counterparty.
Well, so really a strong Instagram following, you're going to want your motorcycle in the bed of your truck times roughly 1,000 photos is really a good strong base, I would say.
So he's looking for financial aid, etc. That's what the counterparty is.
Oh.
Yeah. In the meantime, please accept, Madam Sir, the assurances of my highest consideration.
Did that come with a check?
No. He wants me to send him a check.
Oh.
A dirt bike test. We're getting into the sponsorship business of the Trophy Mediterranean Motocross Challenge.
I'm picking it up.
Yeah, got it.
I see that now in French.
So anybody that needs to be sponsored, what you need to do for me is don't send me that thing. Don't find my info at dirtbiketest.com. Don't come visit me. Write me a test of a product that you're really familiar with in our format, and then submit that to me. And if it's good, then I can make sure you have lots of products to test for me in reciprocation for you producing tests for me. I will send you a sticker or two, maybe, if you're good. If I don't have to correct too much of it. Yep. So, Robin, thanks for the email. Our financial support will be lacking in the short term. In fact, I was thinking maybe you could send us some money. It would be better, and then we would talk more about you, and that would get you a lot of followers. And net, we would both grow our areas where we could collaborate. Yes. So good times.
Yeah, fantastic.
Okay,
Voyager.
Yeah, if you want to do any translation there. San Felipe Bob had a question. Imagine that.
What's Bob up to today?
Well, I don't know. I just have his question. It just popped up right here. If I start a bike in neutral, then pull on the clutch, everything seems to work fine. Clutch disengages properly with engine running. Starting in gear with clutch pull in is also very difficult. I'm guessing grooves in the clutch basket. You guessed good. Mm-hmm. He's talking about a 2005 KX100. Yeah, that is one of the symptoms of a grooved clutch basket. But that's real easy to see. That should be simple. What you can't see and what often could be a problem is warped metal or aluminum, depending what's inside of that particular bike, drive plates and friction plates. Sometimes those things get warped, and you imagine, it's like, if you know what it looks like when something's warped. If they set in and they kind of catch, and then they kind of ride in grooves like waves when the waves mesh up together, that would cause some of those problems as well. The improper oil could also, if your oil is a little too sticky or it's not the right weight, and I didn't do enough oil research, so I can't talk about viscosity tonight. I've been banned from talking about that for my own brain.
Or it's far too old.
Yeah. The oil's old. Yeah. It's because it's like sandpaper, not friction material. So hopefully that answers your question, Bob. We've done with that. I feel like I'm missing a sheet. Oh, I know. You've got the bottom of the other sheet. Right. Good thing I have a helper here. Okay. Next question. Eric Hermsstead. H.J. Hermsstead. I have an 18 Husky FE350, and all I've done is take the screens out of the muffler and TPS tuning. I'm happy with how it runs, but I went and read an article, and now I think I may have done the wrong thing. Is there any difference between a Dobeck EJK tuner and the JD tuner? So I'll answer all of your questions. I can answer these questions. Actually, and he posted this up on the Facebook thing where we announced the show in the morning. He also put a link to this Google Doc that somebody called Taco Shop, someplace in Vegas. I hope they're not getting on my Taco Tuesday train.
It's trademark.
Taco
Tuesday.
Taco Shock. Okay. So, anyways, that document is actually very accurate, and it's linked on our page. So if you're on Facebook, you can go down to that and take a look at it. the information that guy gives is actually really good. It sounds like somebody who knows what he's talking about. He explains all the different methods and things that you can do to the emissions compliant bikes. He explains why they're emissions compliant, and everybody explains it a little bit different, but I breezed through that, and it was seemed like some pretty good information. So, and he did outline all the different choices on the ways you can modify. That document was specific to the 500 and the 501 Husky, but all the same stuff applies to the 350 for the most part. So the screens out of the muffler, I don't know which screens you're talking about. If you took the screen at the very end of the muffler out, I think that's a smart move. Lets the bike run a lot cooler, generally get a little more throttle response. And then you've done the TPS tuning. I am not a fan of that because it's just, everybody says, oh, it richens it up. Well, yeah, it does in some parts, and then it makes it too rich in other parts, and then it makes it too lean in other parts. And every bike I've ever ridden like that ran like a bike that was improperly jetted or tuned. They may have idled better, some of them, or they may have gotten a little better right when you cracked the throttle, but then they got bad right away, or they were really bad when you cracked the throttle. And in fact, we just had one of our rental bikes become hard starting at the last class, and it was because the TPS had been, it got bumped or something happened to it, and it went a little bit out of adjustment, and so it made the bike run horrible. So don't do that. That's not the right way to do it. There's people that will say, hey, just turn that, and then it does something else, or get a different map. If it isn't done specifically for the setup you have, and I think the guy explains that in his thing, it's not going to be right. It's like just guessing at your jetting. It's like, oh, I'm just going to put, it's only
jumping around.
Yeah, it's like you get to jet this carburetor and you can only adjust the pilot jet. What good is that?
Yeah, it's not going to get you far.
Yeah, or you just change the bore diameter of the carburetor. It's like, and you can't change anything else. It's just one thing. It is a way to tune, but you're jacking with the entire map. So, so the difference between the Dobeck tuner and the JD tuner, they're the same part. Dobeck builds, as my understanding, builds all of those, and they're rebranded. They all kind of do the same things, but there's different versions of it. And the tunes that these companies are putting into them are different. So it's the same, quote, hard part. It's just the way that they're tuned. So JD does their own version of it. Dobeck does their own version of it. And I've never got one specifically from them. I've used ones that were branded as FMF before. I'm trying to think, there's a couple online places that can get them and brand them themselves also. But I've had really good luck with the JD jetting ones, and I help them sometimes with the tuning that, because they do a lot of their stuff on the dyno, and then I go and ride it. And what works on a dyno doesn't necessarily work on the trail or on the track or wherever you're doing. And the cool thing about this stuff is that they are adjustable, so you can start with a baseline and then you can modify it from there. So hopefully that answers your question. I see some questions popping up on the feed. Let's see here. I'm going to look at that in a minute, but I have another. So Eric, thanks for the question. Hopefully that answered the thing, but that's a good article. And then if anybody else wants to look at that information, click that link. It's a Google Doc essentially, and it was hard for me to find out. I'm like, who wrote this thing? Because it sounded like somebody who knew what they were talking about. So pretty cool. Matthew Cox asks, I got a 19 450 EXCF. How do you get one of those? It's got to be 6 days, right?
At least
a 6 days edition.
Chili's this year, right?
Yeah, I don't know.
Chili was last year.
Yeah, yeah, because the 5 then
the extra F.
Yeah. So, anyways, I desmogged it and put an FMF 4.1 pipe on it. I know they make them super lean to sell in California. No, they make them super lean to sell everywhere in the world. Now I get a lot of backfiring on decel. Of course, it's even leaner now after doing all that to the bike. My question is the Vortex ECU the missing piece I need? It could be. Heard they will solve that problem. Plus, give me some extra horsepower. Let's see.
This is a 450?
It's a 450.
Okay.
He wants extra. So I'm just curious. So when you're wide open at peak RPM, is that when you want extra horsepower? Or is it some other time? Maybe you can, maybe if you're watching, you can chime in and tell me where exactly you want the extra horsepower. Because I'm going to tell you a secret that I learned a long time ago because I used to race 125s. John, this is a good one. Works for everybody I've ever met. If you're riding and you're not at peak RPM and your throttle's not wide open, adjust either of those two things in a method to make more power. Does that make sense? Everybody get what?
That's spot on.
Get it? Yeah.
That's spot on.
So turn the throttle farther, let the bike rev up more. You will get more power. It's free on almost every bike that I've ever ridden. And if you're not there all the time at peak horsepower, peak RPM, and wide open, then you can always do that and you'll get more horsepower and it's free. So let's see. The second question is it going to hurt the bike with all that backfiring if I keep riding it before I get the Vortex ECU? Because it's 8 to 10 weeks out delivery from every dealer I shop at. Yes, that's Vortex seems to be back order racing lately. I'm trying to get one too because I'd like to play with it and test it. Yes, you're going to hurt your bike. It's lean, and especially when you went to the 4.1, which is a very open muffler. Mm-hmm. It's gonna amplify that lean sensation, and the bike is just gonna run lean. And I don't think you really want to run it that lean. But most of the backfiring you're hearing is coming from the air injection portion of the emissions stuff. And so what there is there's a reed valve on a vacuum thingamajigger it's mounted on the side of your head. It looks like a square. Like a kind of a square little thing with a big black hose coming out of it. And when you go on decel, that sucks air in, which leans out it allows it to pop and backfire. And when that thing is working, it doesn't affect performance per se, power per se, but it does allow the air in there. And then you get backfire. And it actually comes... Help me out there. Hold on. Oh, I knew there was something I needed here. Need one of these too?
Yeah, please.
Yeah. So, so to get back to the question, so a lot of times it's actually when it's a rich condition, and that's made it so that it burns all the unburnt fuel. And then allows that fuel to catch on fire and burn and explode inside your muffler. So what you can do is there's various ways to there's some kits to remove it, and there's various ways to make it so that air can't go through that system. JB Weld stuff a lot of it into the little thing where the reed valve is, and then no air flows through it, and then it just sits there and it doesn't do anything. And then 90% of your backfiring will go away. And then also make sure that your joints on your muffler and stuff are tight because essentially that causes the same thing. But do something with the put the stock pipe back on till you get your tuner. You'll add a little life to your motor.
Does the 4.1 come with a removable baffle?
Yeah, the 4.1 has a spark arrestor. I'm guessing since he's looking for more power, he took it out.
Put that back in. That'll help.
Yeah, put the stock pipe back on until you just leave it stock until you get and when you get the Vortex, actually read that document the guy put on the post, and it'll explain all that stuff. I think the Vortex, unless you're really going to go in yourself and start changing the ignition tuning, or if you just want a plug and play thing, I think that the Vortex is kind of, for most people, overkill. If you're going to start pulling the reeds out and doing all the other tricky things, then maybe it's the way to go if you're looking for more power. But I just turn the throttle. When were you wide open at all today?
Me? No.
On the 500?
No, I was on a 500.
I was on a 350, and I was never wide open today. No. I was trying to go wide open down that road, but we were already going like 90-something miles an hour.
Yeah, no, that was fast enough.
Fast enough. Okay. Matthew, thanks for your question. Let me know about that horsepower thing. The wide open thing. I'd like to help you save some money and make your bike run better. Because when you start asking for power, it's like a lot of people what they're asking for is throttle response, or they're looking for additional torque. It's not really more power. It needs to be explained better. But I kind of jokingly go down that route because people gave me crap too. As I said, I want more power, and then I turn the throttle. Okay. Let's see. Brian, no sexy shirt tonight? Nope. I actually could. I'd run out right now if I didn't have to stay here and man this microphone. I go get one. I'm looking for the comments right now. So, John.
Yes, sir.
Tell everybody your stats. What's your height and weight?
6'4", 200 and we'll say 45 pounds.
Okay,
on a good day.
So John, John is our big test rider. One of them is our bigger, taller test rider. So you always ask like how when we test bikes, we have some smaller guys. I'm perfect, and then John is big.
Yes. Yeah.
So they build bikes for me, and not really for John. But he's kind of a strange big guy because he doesn't want tall bars.
No, heavens no.
No.
Oh, gosh,
and you don't like tall seats.
Well, no, that puts you too far from the bike.
Yeah.
And lowered pegs. Ooh.
Bad.
That's a bad one.
Yeah, well, especially with what size are your feet?
Yeah, about 15s or so. Yeah. But that gets your feet dragging the ground, and
yeah.
I have none of that.
How come I can't see the comments anymore? Does anybody know how this thing works? I need a technical assistant. But anyways, I was going to mention, so a lot of times when we're testing these bikes and we talk about like them being, are they roomy enough for a big guy? We have a big guy. Mm-hmm. He's kind of, like I said, kind of unique that he doesn't want to modify or change them, but right away I'm cramped up on this thing, or we need to move the bars or do something like this. And oftentimes I'll find myself wanting the bars even a little bit farther forward than you will.
Which, and that's a big thing, is a lot of your personal bikes, your bars are too high for me. I generally like them a little lower than him on even our personal bikes.
Your arms are longer.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that bike you rode today was bad?
Not too bad. It's your other KTM 500. I really despise.
the rally bike.
Well, it's because it's got an underbar mounted stabilizer. And that's too much. That's too much height for me. I feel like I almost feel like I'm riding a Harley when I try to turn it. Yeah. But and that's all really personal preference. But ideally, I really don't. I don't like how it feels. Especially if you got to manhandle the bars at all, which you shouldn't be, but let's face it, it happens every now and then.
Yeah, let go of the handlebars. If you're doing it right, you can let go of the handlebars. I'm afraid of saying that out loud.
Well, I mean, there's that 2% of time where you need the handlebars, and yours are too bloody high.
Because I got shorter arms than you do.
Understandable.
Yeah, that's why they make the stuff adjustable.
But no, and a lot of people don't understand that when they go out and get a bike and they immediately go into bar risers because they're tall and they've been told they need bar risers. A lot of times you can adjust that out of it. A lot of bikes actually come with a 2-stage triple clamp, so you can move the handlebars forward. You can flip the bar mounts 180 degrees. Sometimes that'll move the bars forward, move them back, and adjust your levers. Get your levers where you like them. A lot of times people will go to great lengths to buy a $50 riser kit when they could have just taken a wrench to their bike and moved some things around and played with it a little bit before they went into they need to be higher category.
Yeah, I find that a lot. I mean, a lot of bikes we have come to our school, you see it.
Yeah.
And John also helps me out with the riding schools. And you see that somebody just, they drank the Kool-Aid, whatever it was. You've got to have this part, this whatever. And it's like, you ask why? And it's like, oh, they said you have to do this. And it's like, and I'm usually one more of the person that's like, tell me what you're looking for, and then I can maybe point you in the right direction with the product, the thing.
And a lot of times that's hard to get across to people if they've never went out and tested both of them back to back. And I mean, we kind of privileged here. We get to test a lot of things back to back, but you can do it at home just as easily. You can raise your brake lever up a little bit, raise it, lower it down a little bit, move your handlebars forward, roll them back. Those are things on your own personal bike that cost $0, and they may be a world of difference for you.
Yeah. Okay, so somebody's online here giving me this MacGyver trick number 25: broken throttle cable on 2-stroke in the bush. Take the air boot off and shove a stick in to have the slide open 3/4 way open. Hold on and lean to learn to clutch and shift and ride the kill switch. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
That is so. What is the remedy for when the stick runs through the intake?
We don't know. I'm thinking about you're more worried about the engine. I'm worried about the guy on the bike trying to kill himself. Don't ever do that. Mitch, what the hell? That's one of the... No, I know it wasn't. That wasn't a different Mitch. Yeah.
I have
Bob. Why didn't you fix that guy on the chat room right away? I didn't see it. Bob, that was your job, is to fix the people in the chat room, and you didn't do it. No, if you break a throttle cable and you're really screwed, you can pull the sleeve off the throttle cable, and you just have the cable part out. And I've seen people like I say, wrap the stick around that part, and then pull on it. Yeah, and ride with kind of somehow you can.
You can always figure something.
Yeah,
out.
something out. Yeah,
that doesn't involve that.
So yeah, don't wedge your slide open. Opinions on the left-hand rear brakes. Kyle Mosman is asking. I'm not a fan. Did anybody see the divot I had in my head last week? That was because I was on a bicycle and I thought the front brake was the rear brake and whatever, and I wanted to do a skid, and I used my head to do a skid. But so I have an older Recluse left-hand brake on my Husabergs, and it's on there for a reason, because I do stupid stuff on this bike, and when I go up like a rock wall or something where I need the bike to stop and it might stall or something might go wrong or I can't hold the throttle, I can grab that and then I essentially have a brake. But I don't use them. I know a lot of people coming from the mountain bike side of the world really like them. Some people start having a problem feeling their feet. Their feet don't work very well. They get used to using them, and especially when you don't have a clutch lever, it's a viable option. I think it's a great tuning tool. But for me, I'm not there yet. So, and I think I've heard Recluse is coming out with a newer or updated one, a better one. Bob, you like them?
Oh, I love them.
Bob loves them. Bob, he's got the Mojave Bob seal of approval. Lazy, you can't beat it. That's what he says. But they're a pain in the ass to put on, mount, keep bled.
Yes.
It's not worth the. I've probably bled the one on my Husaberg as many times as I've actually pulled on the lever. That's but it's an older one, and I know they're working on that.
My biggest problem with them was if you're still running a clutch lever, it forces your clutch lever into kind of an uncomfortable position because it has to be a little bit higher.
Yeah.
And then now we have this brake lever that's all the way down. So,
well, ideally, a lot of the guys I see, they take the clutch lever completely off. They just have the thing there, or the brake lever or the clutch lever. On mine, where I have it, my clutch is like up here, and it's up there, and I the brake is where I would normally grab.
Now, can you get to that in a braking position?
Usually, I'm off the bike.
That's
where I'm jumping.
That's where I'm kind of going
yeah.
with it. Is if you kind of crutch yourself to always using that, it's really going to hinder your braking position.
Yeah, well, getting back. Yeah. It actually would allow you to get back farther, on the bike. We're not going to go through riding techniques right now. That's my other job. Dennis Green, Jimmy, the wide open thing is not just about more power. RPMs upset the chassis. Exactly. Sometimes more power torque allow you to ride lower RPMs and keep the chassis settled. So twisting the throttle open is not always ideal. That's an excellent point, Dennis.
There's an answer.
Yeah, that's a. Let's see. How about a close up on the Voyager Pros with your other antennas mounted on it? Here, why don't you just hold that up towards the camera? You can reach out there and so turn it, angle it down. Angle it down so they can. You can see it. Now angle it down that way, and like that, and then you can see how all those wires and everything. Because I can't cut and shorten the wires. That will show them a little bit. Let's see. Hola, Jimmy from Baja. Gnarly Dave's in Baja. Imagine that. What are you doing down there? Let's see. Amazing. A couple guys I rode with this 3-inch bars risers, bars roll way forward. They're talking about what you were talking about. They drank that Adventure Rider Kool-Aid. High bar Kool-Aid, we like to call it. Okay. Let's see, Marco. Let's see. Watching his learning. Now do something stupid. What? Thanks for the great tip. Marco called me. He's a good friend of mine. He called me up and said his bike's broken in the forest and he wanted help. So this is not a live help desk. The other however many hours are left in the week, you get me for 1 hour on Tuesday night, and that's it. That's the only time you get live help. Let's see. Recluse. What? Oh, so George put the post up for the Recluse right there in the chat. I think, Bob, you're getting fired. George is going to take over. Okay, here we go. Brad says, listen to this. Brad says, Recluse clutch is for people who do not want to learn to ride dirt bikes. One finger, baby, and you got all the clutch slip you need, and you will ever just the right practice. Ask Jarvis. Yeah, ask the best rider in the world. He's so much better than everybody else. That's why we all need Recluses. I ride with Recluse clutches, and I think I'm okay at riding, and I can hop on a clutch bike and take off and ride on it just fine. I don't think it's for people that don't want to learn. It's just a tool, and it's a good thing to have for people that maybe are wanting to concentrate on something else, like where they're going to put their front wheel and they don't want to stall. So it's a crutch, sure, but I like them. Next thing. Let's see. What's going on with the antennas? That's a lot going on with the antennas. Yeah, there's a lot going on with the antennas. Muhammad posted something up.
They give you a lot of cable here just in case you wanted to run it to the back fender, run it to the front fender.
Yep.
If you were to put this in your Razor or a vehicle of some sort, four-wheeled vehicle, you could run it all the way, run it around the vehicle with the supplied cable. So
yeah, and like I said, I can't cut them. You can't cut these because they're coax cables and stuff. I mean, I imagine I could shorten them up, so I just wired it all up there, and it works great.
Which does Trail Tech, do they have a self-contained, a shorter cabled one, or?
I don't know. I don't think so. I think they just sell the one. Actually, I think one of these antennas is actually not even a Trail Tech one. It might be a boosted one that I got my hands on somehow. It works pretty good. So, okay, that's most of the questions. I'll come and check back on the questions a little bit later, but we're going to run through some of our stuff. Why don't you reach over and grab that radiator you got over there, John? Oh, boy. So,
not me.
Remember last week I said buy radiator guards before you need them? Well, guess who needed them? It wasn't me. It was my bike, or Yamaha's bike. Yeah, that looks like a 1-2 punch. And if one of those tree branches didn't get it, the other one sure did. And I pulled a big piece of wood out of it. And it was spitting not too much water in reality. It was only a little bit. It was enough that we rode it all the way back, rode 20 miles back, and I just put 2 water bottles back into it. And as long as my boot was getting wet, I figured the motor was getting plenty of water. So, but boys and girls, buy the radiator guards before you need them. We know Bulletproof makes some good ones. Trail Tech makes some really good ones. Those plastic ones are really good at funneling air through. The stock plastic ones are probably the best at funneling air through the way it should be funneled through, but they don't stand a chance to tree branches. Now I need to find a radiator repair guy. Yeah. I'd like to see what can be done with that.
I'm sure there's a YouTube video for that, correct?
Well, the one guy told me to put pepper in it. He said if I would have been carrying pepper, it would have stopped it. And you know what? The leak isn't that bad, so I'd be inclined to think. And it almost got me thinking I was going to put the pepper shaker in the backpack today, and then we could also use it on the summer sausage if it isn't spicy enough when we're out trail riding, right?
Could also go back to the stick comment.
What's the stick comment?
The stick in the intake.
Oh,
could have tried that as well.
Yes, we could have. Let's see. Eric Hall. I found the Recluse on my 990 gives a peace of mind getting through gnarly sections on a loaded big bike. It lets you concentrate on your line more and avoid stalling, which means planting a foot, which means sometimes falling. End of day, hot, dehydrated, getting through a tough section without sapping your energy is appreciated. I got through a pretty top boulder section in Mingle Pass. Easy peasy. Really like it. Well, there we go. That's a testimonial right there.
They're definitely energy savers.
And my wife agrees. Actually, it made Heather go from like one level, like if she was like a high level novice, she went to a high level intermediate with the addition of a recluse clutch on really gnarly technical trails.
I know I spent many a year despising recluses, and I spent several hours on one today, and I rather enjoyed it.
Now you know why. It's one less thing to do.
It's one less thing to worry about.
Yeah.
You have a little more fun, little better line selection.
Aluminum, no, there was no way you're going to rate it. George, now you're getting, Bob, you're back in charge. There's no way that you're going to...
Alumasil.
The Alumasil you can put inside of it. Yeah, same stuff. It's just like pepper, but it's made out of aluminum flakes. Yeah. You just need some flakes floating around in there. Kind of like the flake that was riding my bike when it hit the tree. I didn't say that out loud, did I?
No, sir.
Okay. But hopefully a radiator's on the way, right, Mike? Let's see. I have not had a ton of luck with any of the pour-in radiator sealing stuff in the past. It's just to let you know. So,
and it certainly makes a mess when you're done.
Grab that rotor.
You forgot.
Yeah, check this thing out. So, what did you spill? There's radiator fluid on it. Check this baby out.
Still leaking.
Look at this Galfer rotor. So hold up that wheel that's down there. I showed you my W wheels for my thing. I would have them on my bike, but I had to wait for these babies. Whoa. So Galfer rotors, I've used Galfers for a long time, and people say, Jimmy, can you feel the difference between different brake rotors? Yes, I can. And there's a lot of stuff with. I'm a big proponent of working on your brakes, getting your brakes dialed in, and half of it is making sure that they just work properly. And I know a lot of people don't take the time to bleed their brakes, change the fluid like they should, and it makes a big difference in the way your brakes work. Just servicing, have the pins greased, and then of course make sure you have new or decent pads in there. And then the rotors just completely get overlooked. And so a couple things is different rotors have different feels, and it's sometimes it's how aggressive they bite, and then it's how progressive they are when it's as much as the pad. The rotor gives it a different sensation and a different feel.
So what is your take on blued rotors? So when they've got a little bit of color distortion in them. If they're still straight, do you run them? You look for new ones?
I'll actually just do a couple panic brakes. I'll really use the brake, and it'll tell me right then. Is it because a lot of times on rotors that are bad, if they're warped for sure you can feel it. I mean, you feel like kind of it's grabby initially, and then it like fades. And so it's a feel thing, and when all of a sudden it doesn't feel right, it's like, okay, bleed the brakes. That's the first thing to do. There's usually air in it, so bleed it. And you can back bleed it. You can simply run your knee up against the caliper and force the fluid at least on a side floating one. You can force the fluid back up into the reservoir and then refill it essentially. And a lot of times it'll get the air in there, as long as on your caliper the highest point is where the hose connects. Mm-hmm. If your bleed is a little bit higher, you're going to have to manually bleed it because the air will, end up at the top. The air rises, but you back bleed it; it'll squeeze the air out. We pump it up. That's step one.
Certainly, back bleeding has got to be the number one trail. But I find myself back bleeding my brakes all the time just to check them. If they don't feel perfect, I immediately start with that, and it takes 30 seconds.
Yeah, I've been in races, especially I remember in ISD qualifiers where I actually smoked my brakes, and I would actually jump off, ram my knee into the thing, and back bleed it and pump it up. And the time I took to do that actually was made up for because my brakes came back, and then I was a little bit more careful with, at that point I'm like, okay, I got to be careful with it, but at least I didn't crash. And back in the day, we weren't riding as fast as they are these days, where nobody would ever get off their bike. But I did that a couple times, and so number one is bleed the brakes. Number two, then the condition of the pads and the rotors. Or if you're, if something's mechanically wrong, the seals are bad, that feels horrible. That's junk, but that needs to be worked on.
Nothing we can do about that right there.
So if and then a lot of times you make sure that your pads and your rotors are match set. If you're switching wheels, oftentimes your pads don't work very well if you put a new wheel on the bike, and because they have to bed back in and get going. So there's lots of little things, but new rotors and new brake pads are way better than, for me, a pipe or a muffler.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
there's your horsepower.
Yeah. Because I don't care how much horsepower you have, I'm going to outbrake you. That was my thinking in racing, because I knew how much horsepower cost, and learning how to use my brakes and getting good brakes was way less expensive and way more effective. And then I was riding a 125 anyway, so my bike was slow.
So one more thing while we're on the brake thing before we beat it to death, but do you have any special like run-in procedures for new brake pads and or rotors, kind of like the street bike guys do or road race guys do? I
used to when I would have spare wheels and stuff for desert. Yeah, I definitely go bed them in. Would just do a couple. Drag it initially, just kind of lightly drag it in the beginning. Make sure it's clean. There's not smoke or oil coming off of it. Make sure everything's clean, and then do a couple good, really hard hard brakes, and then I would probably 5 or 6, from higher speed down, slow it down until you could almost feel it get kind of soft. Because it seems like when everything's brand new, they'll go soft, and then they cool down a little bit, and then they're good. And then they never change.
Scientifically, we'll call that a heat treat. But
yeah.
Someone will correct us.
I had a physics student in here last week. Matt, where's Matt? He didn't have
Is that guy still around?
He didn't have the physics answers. He went riding with us. He was here and went riding with us last week. It was good times.
Oh, fantastic.
Okay. Get the TM Designworks. TM Designworks. That's right. Get that sucker. So I was going to tell you a story about this thing. TM Designworks is supporting Dirt Bike Test right now. So let you know, I've been using, get the little pieces too. I've been using these things since they were hand machined and I mean, back when I was at Cycle World magazine. So we're going back a long, long ways. And I'm not kidding you. I put it on the KTM 400 that I still have to this day, and I haven't even replaced it or taken it off. So number one, these things are excellent chain guides, and that's what they started with, was the chain guides, and they started making the slider pads and different things like that. I don't think I've ever, I think maybe one or two I've actually replaced the parts, but usually they get where, like you can see, like this one, they get channeled out there, and hopefully you can see that in the camera. Maybe not, it's too far away. But they get channeled out, and then they seem like they last forever. But this particular one, this is off of our 2019 Honda CR450X. We dented the stock one right away, the little aluminum stock one. And then I put this guy on there, and I proceeded to hit a rock with this one of the last times I rode. And I don't know if I talked about this the other time. It probably at about 20 miles an hour, and it caught this thing right here. And you can't see how deformed it is because it's not really that deformed. But for a TM Designworks one, it's got, you kind of see a little bit of a wedge there. It's kind of kicked up. You can see where that sucker popped in there. But that thing picked up the back of the bike and kicked it sideways. Like I was pretty sure I cleared the rock, but not even close. And it just kicked this thing sideways. But it was still completely functional. Everything was totally straight. But upon closer inspection, I looked at the swing arm, and it's literally trying to tear the aluminum mounts, and they're actually bent and pushed backwards. And so I decided I would take it off. And like I said, functionally, this thing was still perfect. The chain was still aligning straight. You can see where it got hooked, but every one of these little bolts and stuff is just a little bit out of round. So that thing took a huge, huge amount of force. But and as much as these things get drugged through, for us, rocks and things like this, the stock aluminum one would not have been happy if still attached to the bike at all. And if it did get hit like that, it would have been peeling back or bent into the rotor, and that would have been a ride ending, or into the sprocket, and that would have been a ride ending experience. But
which is why you'd go plastic over the stock steel cased one.
Yes. Yep. And that's why and this is the factory edition too, is the one, and it's the one that it encapsulates. It actually has, it kind of shrouds or goes around the outside of both sides of the mount on the swing arm on the front two uppers, and then it also bolts in the same place on the back. So it really strengthens up the mount and just that material. And you were talking about how you use that material on your off-road race cars.
Yeah. We actually used this exact same material, maybe slightly different than their formula. We used it for all the bushings in our off-road car. It was a Class 1 off-road car. And it would still bend the bolts, but the bushings would be good for at least half a season, where the rubber ones would make it about 200 miles. It's tough stuff.
And it's good stuff. And I think there's a certain amount of
it's self-lubricating as well.
Yeah. So the rocks slide off of it. I mean, you can actually feel it when you feel the material. And for it to take that big of a hit and to get, to it bounces back. I think it absorbs a lot of the injury and transfers it.
Which I think it's fantastic that they've got these little bushings here, because that gives it this, where now it's encasing both sides. It'll assist with not breaking off the mounts.
Yeah. So, and that's those slide down through on the lower part here. This goes straight through. Yeah. They don't have any up on the top. There's not a bushing, but it's pretty channeled in there. But anyways, super recommended. I've had every bike I've had them on. I've never had a bad experience with them. In fact, it's all been positive. And so, yeah, TM Designworks. They have the slide and guide kits that are pretty cool. These beefy ones for off-road racing are the bomb.
so I don't know where my questionnaire gets to stop and end here.
No, you can ask questions.
So TM Designs also makes a very, very beefy skid plate.
Yep.
In the same material.
Yep.
What's your take on plastic versus aluminum?
I like plastic a lot, because most of the time aluminum skid plates tend to affect the chassis feel. Mm-hmm. And I mean, sometimes it can help, but most of the times it hurts. And I tend to like the skid plate to be a little bit isolated from the chassis. And I also hate the noise and of all the stuff hitting it. If I were going to really destroy my bike in rocks and things like that, I want a really good plastic skid plate. Mm-hmm. And with that material and the thickness of the TM Designworks, and I have them on a couple of my KTMs, been really impressed with it. They are probably better than aluminum, because there's some absorption. It's not like smacking metal against something.
Same thing with this.
It doesn't really. It's like a cushion as opposed to if you're really going to smack aluminum, it's going to be enough to bend it. I think that would be better at displacing the energy. Mm-hmm. So yeah,
I find they also tend to slide off things as well. Where aluminum tends to gouge. So if you get a rock really good, sometimes it'll stop the bike or throw the bike in an unpredictable manner, where the plastic ones will let you glide. Yeah, on this stuff for sure. Mm-hmm. Because I've had some plastic skid plates that actually skidded on mm-hmm. rocks before. I've had aluminum ones skid, and this stuff for the most part slides pretty well. Good stuff. So, Bob's supporting. He's got his TM Designs guides for 3 of his kids' bikes. Okay, so we're getting close to filling up a whole hour. Did we go through? Oh, the pressure gauge. Yeah. Oh, your favorite.
Okay, hey, George, look what I got here. This is the Astro AI tire pressure gauge. This is a gift from George. He didn't get me a big giant bottle of tequila, but he may have recommended somebody to get me a big giant bottle of tequila. But I posted up on the chat there the link to this sucker. So one of the ways you can support Dirt Bike Test, everybody goes, how can I support Dirt Bike Test? This is a really cool pressure gauge. John doesn't like it because he wants a 90-degree head to get into the valve stem easier, but it actually has a digital readout. You can get it on Amazon. It's about $15, And when you order stuff on Amazon through the links at the bottom on the Dirt Bike Test pages, guess what? We get a little chunk, and that helps us out, helps us keep doing this kind of stuff. So check this thing out. Or anytime you search through that and buy something on Amazon, we get a little nugget of that, and that's how we do it. We're not making a living selling T-shirts. Like my T-shirt,
but if you'd like
it's almost sold out, right? So
when is the children's wear coming?
The children's, you got a kid, don't you? Yeah, a couple of them.
Just two.
Just two? Yeah, I don't know. I don't have any. Kids wear. Victor wants to know, what are we drinking tonight? Where were you at the beginning of the show? You're gonna have to watch it. You're gonna have to watch it earlier. Yeah. Yep. Right now it's Miller High Life, my friend. Clase Azul. No, is that what it is? What's it called?
It's very good, though.
Yeah.
Smooth as butter.
Yeah. Clase Azul. I get confused this late in the show. So thanks for, Bob says you know what? Why don't you and Bob collaborate on the kids line?
Oh, we've got votes in for it then. Huh?
Yeah. And the other thing John's supposed to be doing is he's also test rider, helps the schools. He's also my social media criticizer. He tells me how I'm not doing it right. I wanted to bring something up about that, but on the social medias. So as the social media criticizer, can you tell us how we can do this a little better?
If you remember at the beginning of the show, I did speak about the 1,000 pictures of your motorcycle in the bed of your truck. That would help a little bit. But
is that going to help? That's going to help me get a truck?
It might.
Okay.
Another golf ball truck.
The DBT truck.
Yes, sir.
I'm working on that. It's a work in progress, like all this stuff. Do we have a TM Designworks discount code? No, Glenn, but I'm going to work on that. That's a great idea. But I do have one for Kate's. Just email me. I know I was going to tell you about. So I changed a tire the other day live on Instagram. Because I had to change a tire, and I said, what the heck, I'm just going to do it live on Instagram. I got to do it under 10 minutes, just so the feed goes, and then I lost the video. So at some point, again, this week, I'll do that again, because I made a tagline for it.
I do recall watching that.
Yeah, it was live moto tire change challenge or something. I don't know. I'll put it. I'll tag it again. I'll put it up here. Somebody, George, where's my social media manager or Facebook manager? George, figure out what that is, and because I want everybody, I'm challenging you guys to change a tire live, and it'll be funny. No, it won't. Yeah, it will. Right? So maybe we can learn something from each other. There's a couple little techniques that I have that are kind of unique, different than a lot of other people's techniques. So
the preferred technique around the shop here, though, is you struggle with it for about 30 seconds, and Jimmy loses patience, and he'll do it for you.
Yeah, it happens sometimes. But it's anyways, watch for that on probably on Instagram. Maybe I'll do it on Facebook. I don't know. Do it someplace. Maybe I'll do it both places. It depends on how many tires I have to change. Gabe, you got to wear some more tires out. So, okay. Pretty good. George wants to know if Ron Jeremy's sitting next to me. I hope not. That guy finds people dead around here. And you heard about
Thank
Dennis,
you, George.
You heard about the Dennis Hoff thing, right?
Yeah.
So, okay. Thanks a lot for everybody for joining. Hey, share this with your friends that have questions, and have them send us questions, and we'll answer 9 out of 10 without referring to a reference manual.
9 out of 10 every time.
Yeah. If you have questions, before you have your question, you might want to go over to dirtbiketest.com. It's on the internets, and we have a little search thing up in the top corner, and you can type in your what you're asking about, and we more or less likely, potentially, almost maybe have tested that before. We have a lot of stuff that we've been testing. We just haven't had time to write it because Jimmy's too busy goofing around doing live podcasts and going riding, which is the reason I do all this. So on that note, I think we're going to kill this little live section here. We will see you out on the trail. Ciao.
That's it. We're done. Huh?
Yeah, just turn that thing.